As we mentioned them, from Social Security to defense spending. Here's what they had to say.
We'll be on a witness protection program when this is over, so look us up.
The path we're on today is not sustainable, and I don't know a soul on this commission or anywhere else in the Congress that believes it is. The arithmetic is compelling. This debt is like a cancer that will truly destroy this country from within if we don't fix it.
Erin, there's another piece of arithmetic here, which is that 14 of the 18 members of the commission would have to agree. What are the chances of this, first of all, even getting through the commission intact, and then what happens in Congress?
I think we have a long way to go. I mean, you know, we've already heard liberals on the commission saying that they can't stomach this. So, you know, I think this is a starting point. I think that's what everyone is saying. But austerity hurts. I mean, I think for anybody to really, truly address the debt and the deficit, they're going to have to give something up. So this begins the conversation. I really don't think we're going to get very far until after the next presidential, because the next 2 years is going to be even more partisan than the last two. So attacking something this big and trying to do things that are this bold, I just think it's going to be really tough to do.
You mentioned it hurts. We've seen how much it's hurt in Europe, where they're trying to do many of the same things. Just yesterday, because they wanted to triple tuition in the UK, there were these massive, sometimes violent protests in London. We saw about a month ago similar kinds of protests that just about shut down major swaths of transportation and other services in France. Well, when you look at somebody like President Sarkozy, and consider what they're asking politicians to do in the United States, are they brave or politically suicidal?
They're brave, you know, and Britain isn't the first place we've seen this, Chris. We've seen it in Greece, we've seen it in France, and actually we've seen it closer to home. We've seen it in California, but it's the political equivalent of throwing your belly on the ground and stomping your fist in your feet. You know, I mean, if anyone is serious about reducing these deficits, they're going to have to address entitlements, and if we want to avoid situations like they're having in Europe, we've got to start getting our fiscal house in order now.
Well, let's hear what President Obama had to say about this. He's on his trip to Asia in Seoul, spoke about it very briefly. Take a listen.
The only way to make those tough choices historically has been if both parties are willing to move forward together. And so before anybody starts shooting down proposals, I think we need to listen. We need to gather up all the facts. I think we have to be straight with the American people.
Alicia, do you look at all of this as a serious proposal, or do you think that it would be an accomplishment just to maybe pick 3 or 4 to try to get through, or some version of all of it but watered down?
I mean, I think we have to give a big what's up to President Obama for actually calling this commission together and getting this on the table. I agree with Erin. I don't think this is the final deal. I think we have a long road ahead of us, but I do think it's a big success to finally be having an honest conversation about the deficit, about how important it is, and about where it fits along with our other priorities, Chris, because we don't want to lose focus on the fact that any economic plan we look at right now, in addition to bringing down the deficit, also needs to be able to help grow our economy and needs to make sure, as we were hearing from Democratic lawmakers, that our middle class has an opportunity to grow and to expand. That is where you're hearing criticisms of this plan.
Look, well, a lot of political will comes from what the American people are saying. Certainly the Republicans said the message from the American people in this last election was they wanted less spending, they wanted less government. The question is, do they want less spending and less government when it comes to maybe higher taxes, or, you know, paying more for their gas, or getting rid of mortgage deductions? How much will do you think there is in the country for this?
More than there ever has been in the past. I mean, you're right. Historically, Americans want every entitlement that they can get their hands on and to pay about 10% in taxes. That's just not serious anymore. This is a serious proposal for getting our deficits under control. And quite honestly, if people like Bernie Sanders are calling it devastating or a disaster, and Dick Durbin says there's things in here he hates, like the devil hates water, we're off to a good start.
Oh, Alicia, I see you're reacting to that.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I have to disagree with Will. I think if you look at most of the polling, about 15% of Americans really, really care about this. They tend to be conservative Republicans. So, yes, while it is an issue, I don't think it is the issue for most Americans. When you talk about something like the mortgage rates, I mean, yes, that may be a good plan for down the line, but when you have people worrying about being able to stay in their homes, when you have all of these structural elements of our economy pushing slowing down, making it hard for the economy to grow. I think most people would rather tackle some of these problems after we know that our economy is back on track.
Just a little taste of the debate that we're going to have going forward. And Will, Erin, and Alicia, we're going to be talking Washington power plays coming up in our next half hour, so you'll all be back. Thank you.
Thanks.
Scary new information about just how close we were to having a cargo bomb explode over the U.S. Christmas is coming early for Walmart shoppers. Plus,